Okay, so what I'm doing now is I've got the one of the crankcases in the Barbie and outside, and I'm going to heat that up as high as I can get it. I'm going to heat it up so that we can try and get the main bearing knocked out. Okay, and I'm doing it outside rather than in the oven because of the smell. It's all I've cleaned the cases up a bit, got rid of the worst of the oil. But obviously they smell a bit when you heat them up, so don't want to do them in the oven inside. I value my life too much, if you know what I mean. So the perfect solution is the outdoor Barbie. The only problem I've got today is it's very windy and it keeps blowing the barbecue out. But it's stayed on for a while. We're up to nearly 300 according to that. So I'll get it nice and hot. Then we take it down, and what we do is we knock the bearing out by slamming the casing on the bench, and then hopefully the bearing will drop out. We just have to keep checking that we've got flame. Yeah. I'll take it up to about 400 on this. Oops, I don't know what that was. Seems okay. So when that's nice and hot, up to about 400, then take it down and I'll knock the bearing out on a block of wood. Although I just thought I probably won't be able to video that because I'll be see what we can do. So I brought the crankcase down from up the barbecue where it got nice and hot, and I turn it sort of upside down and knock it on these blocks to get the bearing to drop out. I brought it down and realised that the bearing has already fallen out because it got nice and hot in the barbecue. I thought I heard a noise in the barbecue, and it was the bearing literally just plopped out before I'd even tried to knock it out. So that's great. Heat, as ever, is your friend. The main bearing, which just fell out. I didn't realise. I thought it was a clatter. It was the bearing falling out before we tried to knock it out. So it just fell out with the heat of the oven. It's just come straight out. The main thing to notice is the lettering. The lettering is the convention is lettering to the outside, which is indeed the case on this engine. Okay, so because we'll probably be reusing these bearings, and obviously we need to make sure they go back in exactly the same way on the same side, but also the same way round. So the thing to note is check where the lettering is. This one is indeed lettering on the outside. There's no lettering on the other side of the bearing, and so when we put it back in, we put it lettering facing outwards. So I've just heard a clunk inside the Barbie. I'm sure there it is, the main bearing. Just by heating it up, it's just fallen out of its own accord. I thought I'd have to bash it on the bench, but it's really good doing this in the outside Barbie. I take it up to 400 Fahrenheit. That's about 200 centigrade, and when it gets to that, both bearings are just falling out both times. So that's great. And it's great doing it outside, obviously, because there's no smell and all that. Even I've given the casings a light clean, obviously, before doing this to get rid of the worst of the oil, but they still smell. One thing is that when I did clean them, I made sure that I left the bearings all oiled up. Okay, because you don't ever. I used some white spirits to get rid of some of the gums around the outside, but I made sure I got nowhere near the bearings. You don't want those bearings clean. You always want them in oil. Oh, and before we carry on, I'll just mention that before I heated up the drive side crankcase to remove the bearing, I prized out the oil seal and its oil seal carrier from the outside of the casing. You don't have to do that, but obviously because it's rubber oil seal, I thought I would take it out before heating it up for obvious reasons. I didn't want it to melt. Okay, so just mention that I took that out before, then heated up the casing and the bearing dropped out. But that you can just prise that out from the outside. That's the oil seal, because of course on the Commando the primary chain case has separate oil to the rest of the engine. So there's an oil seal there which stops the oil coming through the main bearing into the chain case.